Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at another Mecha blood list. This one is basically the same as far as most things go, although Odin, Tech Lord, and of course Hellblaze are a little bit different. I don't see as many decks running those typically, but it is becoming a much more common occurrence. So hopefully you guys can enjoy this video, and we're going to get right into it. So for our first match here, we're going up against Sword. Sword is very popular on the ladder at the moment. Definitely is a pretty good powerhouse overall. Both ambush sword and pretty much, more expensive swords with lather and things like that are also quite popular. And we're starting off with a reasonable hand actually. Kiss of Lust and double Restless Parish are actually okay in this deck as a start, since Restless Parish can be used immediately to give you some decent draw power and shuffle through your deck, so that's why I didn't throw them back. They're also really good if you are looking for healing options, but I like to use them in a more aggressive way in these early matchups, especially when I come up against something like Sword. Of course, you do want to focus on getting as many Machina cards out, or Mecha, Machina, I don't really care anymore, Mech cards out. They're always really good to do. Kiss of Lust is not a bad way to do things when you want to clear stuff out and get a little bit of damage in, plus I can boost something. Usually you want to boost Mono, but Trill I always find is not too bad, since you do get the free Evo on her most of the time anyway. That's really what you're going to be aiming for. In this situation though, I did decide to favour aggression, because I thought that would be the best way to really try and take this game, and I think I definitely made the right decision. Usurping was a good option, since you're going to be able to clear this board now, which is good for them. But they are going to have one hell of a time next turn. Metal Blade Demon, not a card I get to use often, but now that I did, it's definitely got some value to it. Especially for that ping effect. So I do like to hold an Evo to try and get Vera, typically. But sometimes that's not always the best situation, so spending it just wherever you need it is usually the good way to do things. And they're doing a wonderful job wiping out most of this board. I'm actually very impressed. But I decided to go, of course, for the Mecha play. Fill our board up with as much as I can get, while trying to hold on to the Mecha wing at the same time, because I want to be able to take advantage of its 8-drop effect, preferably. Just in case we do end up drawing a mono, which will definitely help us in the long run. Now we just need to deal with this board. And a Vera should be a fairly good way to do so, especially with Warring Thunder. So Warring Thunder has a great Evo, of course, being able to deal damage based on how many Evos have been played, and it's no surprise that with that Evo we did see the concede there. Sword would have a really hard time recovering from this point. And the next match is against Blood. So blood on blood matchups. Reasonably common again, as Blood is doing fairly well in the current meta as well, rising up pretty nicely. I wasn't a big fan of Mecha Blood to start with, but the more I've played of it, the better it's got, for me at least. Although I definitely would like to run 3 mono. I think I've only got 2 in this deck. I think I've only got 2, since that's all I do have of it, and I'm not opening any more packs or anything until, of course, mini expansion, since really that's where all the value will come. Plus, when I've already got 2 of basically every single legendary and 3 of some others, it's not a big deal not to be having 1. So Mecha Wing Angel, again on 2, really good play. Especially against a Dark Feast Bat Blood, which is what I'll assume this Blood player is playing based on the amount of self-damage they've started to deal to themselves. I decided to put the 3-2 down because I thought that would be good value. It also did force their Razor play, which is a great advantage for us. There is the Warring Thunder, of course, on board, since it's good. And now we just need to take this board, pretty much. There's really not much to do, since they left us with a full-on lethal on board, so definitely worked in our favour for the aggression. So keeping this video reasonably short, we have already covered Mecha Blood in a lot of cases. A lot of the late game stuff really only comes into play if you do get dragged out. You're mostly securing game fairly early on or taking advantage of mono as soon as possible. On turn 7 typically is where I like to use her if I get a chance. Don't always get the chance though, because the evo effects in this deck really do dominate quite hard in that early game, so you only really need a half decent curve and you can kind of win out from there. It's just kind of a heads or tails sort of deck where you're either going to get that early game or you're going to brick for the late game, so it's really one of those two options. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time guys, see ya.